I got a busy day today because I'm going out to a shooting range because we have the only gun that we know of that is an exact copy of the gun Oswald used to kill President Kennedy, because it's a real weird hodgepodge of guns. It was the one that killed Kennedy, has a different scope on it, very rare, very hard to find. I think might even be a Russian scope. I can't remember. The scope is from someplace. There's parts of this gun that are from someplace else. And so, we wanted to get, because we don't have the real gun, we wanted to get one just like it. It took us 2 years to assemble this gun and to find all of the parts. So it's an exact copy of it. I'm going out to a shooting range today, and we're going to do our first test. I've got some sharpshooters with me, and we'll post some of this on X as we do it live today. But then you'll be able to see all of it, because we're going to another shooting range hopefully next week to get moving targets to see if they can make these shots. But it should be interesting. Today, you can watch for it on X, and then that'll be next week as we go through everything that has been released on the JFK files, because it's going to take us a while. Anybody who says, they don't have any idea. 80,000 documents are being released. So Jason is here. He's our chief researcher for the TV show. 80,000 documents. How long would that have taken us to go through? For staff, what do we have, 8 people on it right now?
Yeah.
How long, without Grok or AI Assist, how long would that take us?
We'd still be basically taping our eyelids open and still staring at it. We wouldn't even be close to attempting to be even, like a quarter of the way through it.
Okay. So yesterday, describe the process. What happened?
So they started releasing the documents. Well, I thought they were going to be delayed, but they finally started coming through around like 5 or 6 Central, something like that. So we immediately went to work. Initially, there was 113 pages of these documents, but on each different page, there was about 10 PDFs per page. And those PDFs had multiple pages within the PDFs.
Right.
So all in all, it was probably around 12 to 1,300 pages of stuff.
Wow.
It was insane. But to go through this now in the modern age, all we have to do is go through, download each little different PDF, and start feeding that into whatever artificial intelligence program that you want to use.
Right.
And then if you know the right prompts, you can start looking for things that are relevant, things that are new, things that contradict old disclosures. It was actually pretty amazing.
Yeah. So we are, one of the things that is very important to me is the ethics of using AI. And I don't know if a lot of people even care about it, but I do, and my staff does deeply. We've had really heartfelt, round after round of what's ethical, what's not ethical. So, we are not AI powered. Our research team is not AI powered. It is powered by people who use AI. And there's a big difference in that, as you will start to see as days go by and more people just use AI to do all their thinking. We use it as a tool to go through to be able to do things we just couldn't do before. 80,000 documents, as you said, it's 1,200 documents last night. 80,000 will take us forever. Just the 1,200 that we went through that was the first batch would have taken us weeks to go through.
Yeah.
So it's a very big help, but we also then go back and check everything. So let me go through some of the things that I know that were found yesterday. You tell me also anything that I'm missing here on what was found. But there's a couple of things. One document is a memo on a release passage from a political magazine, Ramparts, from 1967, about an intelligence agency, a CIA informant, and former U.S. Army Captain John Garrett Underhill. And he wrote, the day after the assassination, the story wrote, the day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of a friend in New Jersey. He was very agitated. The passage starts, a small clique within the U.S. was responsible for the assassination, he confided to his friend. He would be afraid, he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, he was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. Coroner ruled it a suicide. The note was known, what was said on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. The passage has been shared last night over and over again. That's probably one of the bigger passages that came out, that was shared on X and everything else. But as people were like, it's already been released. Yeah, but we didn't actually have the document. Another document that was making the rounds. One line in the document stated that the KGB watched Oswald closely while he was in the USSR, but files indicated that Oswald was a poor shot when he tried target practice in the Soviet Union. Another detail released was a letter sent by a man in 1978. He was a Soviet, and he made this comment to the British Embassy. He claimed that he was detained in London on July 18, 1963, and questioned by authorities. He said that he told them about Lee Harvey Oswald, saying he planned to kill the president. He added that he warned American Vice Consul Tom Blackshear of the plans of Oswald, who was trying to defect to Russia. Okay, so that's kind of a big deal. But what does that say to you? So far, that just says, now hang on, if you're driving, I shouldn't say. I'm going to give you time to pull over, because this is going to be a shock to you. You pull over? Okay. What it says is our government is incompetent. I know. Could have had a car wreck if I didn't tell you before you pulled over. I mean, that's what this is so far saying to me. What are some of the other things that we found, Jason?
You talked yesterday about there was multiple different, 4 different things that this is really about the what, not really the who.
Right.
And I think that's pretty much spot on from what I'm seeing so far. Right now, there is no who. There is no, okay, this is the person that pulled the trigger. There's no grassy knoll. There's no deflection from the official Warren Commission report so far. But I will say that people that have been looking into this for a long time have identified 10 to 15 or 20 documents that they really want to see that have been heavily redacted in the past or
and
just
have not
excluded.
Been released yet.
Some of them have not been released. Some of the stuff from last night have provided more context. Now, let me tell you, if you're a fan of the Cold War or just even spy, thrillers, you're gonna like to read some of this stuff, and I'm gonna put together some stuff for our special next week. Some stuff that you can just read, on GlennBeck.com or something. If anything, this stuff is is cool Cold War, stuff.
Yeah.
For instance, I'll throw out there was I've never heard about this before, but there was a surveillance program in Havana, Cuba, before the assassination that was a complete failure. Something happened where they were found out. There were people arrested. Never heard about this before. The CIA definitely did not want to get this out. So that had
nothing to do with the JFK files, but it was filed in that file.
Right. So I believe it was filed in that they're kind of building this case of these are the things that might have agitated Cuba. Maybe if you're searching for a lead that said, okay, maybe Cuba through the Soviet Union was involved with the assassination.
Right.
These things might have tipped, them off. But there's a lot of that stuff that kind of links back. You can tell the CIA's doing their due diligence and they're looking for, anything really that would point back.
So John Greenwald of the Black Vault, which says they are the largest privately run online repository of declassified government documents, said the organization of these files is just, it's crazy. Nothing is searchable, no bulk download like previous releases, no spreadsheet, nothing. It's just fire hose. So you got to give everybody who's looking into this some time before, we really understand what everything is. But what else did we find, Jason?
So if you're looking at the what, if you're looking at what is the CIA involved with? Are they incompetent? Are they even operating legally? Now here's when the JFK files get interesting. I wrote down a few notes, and we'll have more next week on our big
next
show.
Week we're taking. We were, the first idea is, hey, they're going to come out. Maybe we should do a show. And we're like, wait, let's take our time and take a breath and do the show the following week, because that way we'll have actually the information. So we're just giving you bits and pieces now, but next Wednesday night is a full show on what's come out on JFK.
Now, how about this, just to get your interest? The description in full detail of CIA covert domestic operations ran out of multiple cities within the United States, to include wiretap operations domestically, as well as media manipulation, with them pushing out narratives that the CIA specifically wants the media to push out, and all of their contacts at other media organizations. You can read that right now. Tell me that does not happen today.
It does.
This is why this is important, Glenn, to know. This establishes a pattern of behavior, and I'm not even done yet. It talks about CIA partnerships with private companies. Private companies.
Public-private partnerships?
Sounds like that, actually. They talk about a vast CIA network. This is before the assassination, that they were heavily invested in Mexico City, which I thought was fascinating. And this, you can read about, high-value KGB assets that are getting stationed in Mexico City for some random reason. Big-time CIA operation going down in Mexico City, and that's how they were actually able to catch Oswald before the assassination when he went down to Mexico City to get a Cuban or a Soviet visa.